So today I'm doing a quick video about my process of making a lemon drizzle cake. I'm not really aiming for any production value and I'm just following a recipe. It's just really for interest, so please enjoy. We need 1 cup of sugar, which is about 200 grams, I've read online, and 2 extra tablespoons, presumably for the actual lemon drizzle part at the end. And also 1 cup of butter, which I worked out is almost all of a 250 gram pack, minus a bit at the end for greasing the pan. We also need 1 3/4 of a cup, I'm not joking here, 1 3/4 cup of flour and a bit of baking powder as well. So there it is, that's apparently about 200 grams and a tiny bit of baking powder on top. And also 4 eggs, there they are. And we need the zest of 1 lemon, which, as you know, is basically just grating the skin like that. Apparently we actually need another one for later, but that's probably for the glaze, so let's cross that bridge when we come to it. We also probably want to preheat our oven to about 175 degrees. So there it is, about 175. Then we need to mix our butter with our sugar, which I've done here. I've just put it in the microwave for a bit, so it actually stands a chance of beating. And then once it gets to some kind of, I don't know, creamy consistency, let's say, then we start beating in the eggs one by one until you basically can't tell that there's any egg in there. And then we'll go from there. I'm not going to show you this because I want you to think that I can use a whisk competently, so I'm just going to show the end after I've cleaned everything up. So there you go, I've done the mixing and only minimal butter on the walls, so I'd say that's kind of a success. I also mixed in a tiny bit of eggshell, partially just because I like to add a bit of texture, but mostly because I'm an imbecile. So the next step, I believe, is we're going to sift in this flour into the mixer using a sieve. We have to mix it up with a wooden spoon because suddenly tools are too good for us. So once again, I'm not going to show that, but I'll show you the end product. And after that, I'm going to add the lemon zest as well, which is very exciting. Everything's mixed in nicely, including the lemon zest. I can kind of see why they said don't use a whisk. Well, they didn't say that explicitly, they said use a wooden spoon. And so you can see I've kind of got flour everywhere once again. If I did that with a whisk, I think it would be somewhat apocalyptic in here. So I'm kind of glad I did that, as per the instructions. So now we've got this mix. Apparently we've got to put it into a greased pan, like so. That is greased within an inch of its life. And also it's a bit gruesome, so let's see how that turns out. It says don't push it down, and I guess that's so it can actually rise and be nice and airy rather than like a lemon drizzle brick or something. I guess this thing is going to rise, so when I put it in the pan I probably want to make sure that I don't overfill it. But let's see, I'll show you the end result before I put it in the oven. So there's the end result. I kind of wanted the top to be a bit smooth, so I kind of gently used the back of a spoon to spread it. I then also started violently shaking it side to side, so I hope this didn't violate the condition of not patting it down. Let's see. It does look like rather a dense mixture, so I'm a bit scared. I think, if I'm right, the best thing to do is once it goes in the oven, is to just kind of leave it and don't take it out at any time until you want to like really test that it's done, otherwise it might collapse. I don't know, let's see how it goes. It has to go now into that oven for about 40 to 45 minutes. Oh, look at that, step 4. Try not to open the oven door early to avoid collapsing the fluffy cake. Oh, I know my stuff. Alright, it's going in the oven now. Now that the cooking process is slowly coming to an end, let's kind of see if we can see in there. Yeah, just about through the somewhat grotty door. It's nearly there. We've got to start thinking about the lemon drizzle part. So just reading ahead, we had to zest 1 further lemon. Probably get a tiny bit more zest out of that. And the other lemon that we zested, we're going to use the juice of that as well. So the juice of the 2 lemons. Apparently we're mixing that with 7 tablespoons of sugar. So overall we used a lot of sugar. I'm not really so much into baking myself. It seems like an excessive amount of sugar, but I guess no one ever said this was going to be healthy, so let's see how that goes. I'm going to mix that all up now and show you the end result. So here is our lemon glaze mixture all done, and on top of that we have the cake out the oven. Now on first observations there is a slight dip in the middle which is slightly concerning, that to me suggests maybe the cake has collapsed a little. I guess we'll find out later on. But anyway, it passed the toothpick test, which in my case is a chopstick test, as you can see. Some 2 probing holes there, ruining the aesthetics of my cake. But the second one came back dry, so I guess it's done. So the next step is for me to pour this glaze on here and wait for a couple of hours for this to cool down. So I'll just do the glaze and show you the results afterwards. So there you go, I've finished with the glaze. I invented a top tip along the way, which was I decided to get a knife and run it along the outside of the cake, but inside of the tin of course, just to move it away from the edge. The thinking there was that if the glaze sort of started to spill off the edge of the cake, then it could run down the sides. So I'm pretty pleased with myself for that one. The only downside is that slight collapsing in the middle has made a little weld, so we've got a lot of glaze there. Don't really know what to do about that. I'll see how it turns out. Anyway, we've got to leave this to rest for a few hours, so let's see how it turns out then. And that is the final product after I've taken it out of the tin. Somehow, by some magic, it is actually quite light and airy. So I'd say overall I'm pretty pleased with that.